episode 2 of Catching the Light. We're back. I'm here again with my good friend of many, many years. And I actually have to start this show, unfortunately, with a bit of a retraction. Yeah, you don't know about this. Last episode, I began by saying that I couldn't dream of doing this with anybody else. I wouldn't want to embark on this maiden voyage with anybody else in the world. Okay, there's no one else other than you and 6 others.
Did you catch some grief for that?
But you and that 7 that's it. Just
right.
That 7,
right.
I think.
Oh, it's good to be back, man.
It's good to see you. Thanks for driving in again.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so far the onus has really been on you. You've had to do more miles and stuff, and I feel bad about that. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I won't see it for another year, I'm sure, after going back to teaching.
Yeah.
Which reminds me about work. We were going to talk about working in Los Angeles, trying to get jobs, and there's everybody has that day job. Everyone's there to follow their dreams, be an actor, a model, a singer, a dancer, or whatever. But you have to pay the bills. And you got to LA before I did. What made you just say, all right, I know exactly where I'm going, or I know I can wait tables, I can get a job like that?
Well, I already had the experience of waiting tables. I was working at Ruby Tuesday, which is, for anyone that doesn't know, it's kind of like a TGI Fridays type thing. Very, very gregarious, and a lot of colorful pink and green drinks and umbrellas. And so I sort of built up my resume knowing that eventually I was going to be out in LA, and I needed that resume builder. I wanted the bartending experience because I viewed that in terms of the hierarchy in a restaurant. I thought, well, the bartender is, aside from maybe being the owner of a place, you want to kind of get up totemically. You want to be the bartender. You don't be a busboy, waiter. All that stuff seemed more subservient. So I was trying to bartend as much as I could, and that was my first bartending job, was at Ruby Tuesday.
But then you came to LA and you were waiting tables.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this. You told me, because I was like, well, I've never waited tables before. You said, oh, it's easy. And I said, well, how am I going to do it? And you said, just lie on your resume. Just say, make a resume that's complete nonsense and put all these restaurants from New York. They'll never call the references, so don't even worry about it. You can just make up the numbers. They'll never call. And then just go hand it out and say that you worked at Ruby Tuesdays with me, whatever. And I went and I handed this fake resume to a deli, a very popular and busy deli restaurant.
The most popular.
One of, and they hired me. And they looked like, oh man, you've done it all. Like, you've really been, you've been a good waiter. And after one shift, I mean, I was lost. First of all, the menu, I'd never worked. There were all these foods I'd never seen before, and tongue and borscht and all these. I had no clue. And I got called into the manager's office after my first shift, and she looks at me and she goes, "You've never done this before, have you?" And then a good person would have said, "I'm sorry, I lied to you. You're right. I just needed a job." Instead, I decided
what you should have said was, "How dare you?"
Well, I came close. What I did was I decided to keep lying and say, "No, I've been waiting forever." And she goes, "Really? Really? It's breakfast time. They order number 9. What's your first question to your customers?" And I said, "What would you like to drink with that?" And she goes, "It's what kind of bread for your toast? Get out of here." And I was like, I was going to say that.
Did you get paid for the day?
She did. She paid me for the day.
Generous.
Very, very nice of her. But man, that job looks way easier than it is. It does. I mean, it does. You started waiting tables at that Italian place first, right?
Yeah. There was what was it? Macaroni Grill.
No.
Oh no,
Sicily's, right?
Sicily Italian Kitchen. Yes.
Am I wrong, or am I just an idiot? Like, it seemed like I couldn't balance 10 things, and I was looking at every bowl to make sure I wasn't spilling anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people were mad, and they wanted things 100 different ways. And
the first clue to your boss's first clue might have been when you were bringing out that first tray and you were like this.
Yeah.
Like maybe.
Yeah.
I guess I should have filled you in a little bit. You should have called me. We could have had we could have done like a mock session where I'm the diner and you're coming up to, yeah.
We probably should have done that. I was so embarrassed, and then I was like, well, I can't do this, and I went to bartending school. They gave me a diploma, 5 days to justify the cost. They taught us like 150 drinks, which now that you've bartended, people mainly order the same 7, like rum and coke, gin and tonic, occasionally a cosmopolitan. They were teaching me things people hadn't ordered since World War II, like the rusty squirrel navel and the, anything that has Galliano in it is probably not going to be made very often, that big, long, tall, skinny thing.
Yeah, if you're in your early 20s, you're not ordering anything with Galliano.
Oh my God, and like a pink squirrel zipper and just things that I never ever made. But I did go to the bartending school because they said we guarantee job placement. Now that you've gotten these jobs, there's no such thing as placement because you'd have to interview. They couldn't just take somebody sight unseen.
Yeah.
But I bought into that. And I paid them $500.
Right. And I don't know what they must have had some kind of racket where they made it seem like they were a legitimate business. In other words, so a place is looking for a new bartender. They're not going to say, well, you just went to bartending school, because the irony of that is that if you just went to bartending school, you don't have any experience.
Right. What they did was they said, it's a scam. They told us right up front, this is a scam.
Yeah.
They said, do you notice we answer our phone? We don't say hello bartending school. We say hello. This is the such and such serving company, like a catering company.
Right.
And you're going to put on your resume that you worked for our catering company, and when they call our number for a reference, we're going to answer the phone like that. We're going to say that you've been like a private party bartender.
Right.
Total scam.
Right.
And I bought into it because I just wanted a job. And then they said, here's job placement. Here's a hotline number. Good luck. Like, hotline number. So I got to my apartment, called the hotline number, and it was an outdated message. And it was like, wanted, barmaid in El Monte. Call blah blah, and I'm like, El Monte, which for those of you who don't know LA, it's like an hour outside of LA, and a barmaid. Like, am I gonna be wearing culottes? Like, what, like, what in that world? And then the next one was like, wanted, barback, Anaheim. Like, in LA traffic, that's a 2-hour drive.
And this isn't just you vying for these jobs.
It's
the whole class
graduate,
and others, right?
And we graduate every week.
Right.
Like, there's a graduates. So I called them. I was so mad. I called them up and I was like, "This is a scam. Like, I want my money back. I'm calling my credit card company. I'm calling the Better Business Bureau. This is not job placement." They're like, "Hold on. Before you call these people, what if we gave you the name of a bar, a real bar for a real bartending position that we haven't put on the phone yet? We're going to put it on the phone tomorrow. We'll give it to you today. Would you calm down? Can't guarantee you're going to get the job." And I'm like, "Well, that's not job placement." They're like, "I know, but we're giving you this lead." And I said, "Fine." And they gave me this, and it was on Santa Monica Boulevard. And I was like, that's right in the middle of West Hollywood. This is great. Now, I didn't know West Hollywood was the gay part of town.
Yeah.
I walked into this bar having no clue that I was walking into the single, lone, and historic lesbian bar in Los Angeles. And I came in on like a Tuesday night for this interview. There was no one in the bar. Who drinks on a Tuesday, So I walked in. There was like one girl at the bar.
A lot of people drink on a Tuesday.
Well, I guess lesbians don't drink on Tuesdays.
Okay.
I don't know. In LA, this was a slow night, and there was one girl at the bar, and I walked in, and this woman gave me this interview, and after a couple questions, she figured out. She goes, "You don't know where you are right now, do you?" And I said, I thought this was a trick question. And I said, "I'm in a," and I looked down the bar, and I saw after that girl at the bar there was a pool table and there was a dance hall in the back. And I said, "It's a dance club bar?" And she goes, No. It's a gay bar." And now she said gay. I'm from the suburbs back 3,000 miles away. She says gay. To me, that means guy. I don't know what a lesbian is. Like, I've heard of them. I think they exist in theory.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anyone who's outwardly, openly gay.
I hear gay. I think Dennis Biggins. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, God.
He's never going to watch this. He's never going to see this.
So,
don't worry about it.
So, I'm completely through it. So she says gay bar, and I go, okay, and I'm thinking she can see me processing, and she goes, "For girls," and I'll go, "Oh," and she goes, "So do you want the gig?" And I said, "Well, do they drink anything special? I don't know." And she's like, "No, Heineken, Bud Light, like, you idiot, Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, I just need a job." And then, I didn't know what to expect. And I gotta admit that not knowing what to expect, 99.9% of every girl that walked in there was the nicest, most sweetest, wonderful, regular, whatever that means, accepted me not as a guy, not as a straight person, not as a New Yorker, not as any, just as the bartender. And
so initially, it's like we're all guilty of that otherness.
Yeah.
And then you become part of the inner sanctum, and you realize human beings.
Oh my God.
Like us.
And it made me, when I left that bar and I would go out with you to a quote unquote straight bar, because every girl I met looked, talked, walked, acted like everybody else I'd ever known, I started looking around the bar going, I don't want to talk to any, I shouldn't just walk up to any girl. Any of these girls could be gay. How do I know? I'm not going to walk, I'm assuming everything now. So it really kind of changed the way I looked at everybody. But I had a great experience there. There were a couple tense moments, but I had, more or less, I had a great experience.
You had been there when I came to see you, and we hadn't seen each other in quite some time. And I got to LA. You didn't know I was there. You didn't know I had landed again. And I knew the name of the place that you were working. And I knew you. I think you'd mentioned that it was a bar. It was a gay bar. I hadn't been in West Hollywood, maybe once, twice before this, but the cab dropped me off on the wrong block. So I had about another 4 blocks to walk before I got to your bar to surprise you. And I remember the first block, I just heard a couple, some whistling, and by like the 3rd block, I'm like running. I'm hearing like strange noises coming from the rooftops, and people like, saying stuff out of the windows, and I felt like people were coming out of the sewers, and it's a different world.
I did meet a couple. Every now and then, some guys would come in, like a pair of guys, because they were trying to get away from the madness of the gay bars, which they made sound like they were really kind of aggressive and sort of like meat markets and not always fun if you were just trying to have a nice, relaxing, civilized night. So I would meet guys who just wanted to get out of there. And once again, accepting and quote-unquote normal, whatever normal means, normal was completely redefined for me, because whatever stereotype I had learned through the media in my head or from kids at school, they were gone. And
you don't really know diversity until you live in a city like Los Angeles.
No.
Everybody's really,
what was your experience like? Your boss was French, and you're meeting people from all over the country in different ways.
Well, one thing that I've learned, you can take the good with the bad. I think that when I was bartending in Rochester and waiting tables in Rochester, I remember finding that there was a sense of entitlement then that I thought was kind of depraved. And
from the customers, or
yes, and I thought naively, I thought at the time, well, maybe this is just endemic of this place. This is just exclusive to these places. And I got to LA, and it was just more of the same. So that I think diners in general, it's what you're doing is subservient, and I think that what ends up happening is people. It sort of speaks to a bankruptcy in their own lives, that maybe they don't wield a lot of power in their personal lives. They don't have much authority. So what they do is they go out, and it's an arena in which they can kind of boss someone around and tell them what to do. And when you're on the receiving end of that, night after night after night, it does wear you down.
Did you get treated like less than a lot, or
I think when I was younger, because I felt like I was working my way towards something, and I was just some 20-something little pissant, I figured out this is worth it. I'm going to take my lumps. By the time I got into my 30s, and I was still dealing with a lot of the finger wagging and the barking, and it starts to, after a while, it really starts to kind of erode your self-identity, your self-image. You start to sort of second-guess your own abilities, and you feel like you sort of are a serf after a while. But the thing about working in Rochester, like I said, I worked at Ruby Tuesday, and it was kind of an exciting place, in that people weren't as particular, at least about what they were eating and what they were drinking. When I first started bartending, they'd come in and be like, "Yeah, I'll take they opened the menu. I'll take the watermelon caca rama llama," and I would look at the picture in the menu and be like, "That's pink." Like, all right, grenadine, some cherry juice, and maybe some vodka. And then I would just, put some ice in and give it to them. They'd be like, good. Throw an umbrella in there, you're done. I got to LA, and like you said, the demographic was different. It was older. So all of a sudden I had to know how to make real martinis and Manhattans and stuff with bourbon and different kinds of rye and whiskey. And I'll never forget this one. Her name was Evelyn.
Customer or
a customer? Okay. A customer at the French restaurant that I worked at in Studio City. And she'd been coming into this restaurant for years, and had always gotten the royal treatment. They really literally put down the red carpet for her.
A name like Evelyn sounds like royalty. Evelyn.
She was like something out of a Disney cartoon. I mean, like the evil stepmother, the witch. I mean, she was just awful.
Okay.
And she said to me, the first time I'd waited on her, she said, now I want a Manhattan, and I want you to make sure that it's only 2 ice cubes, and I want you to make sure that, you know, that you're going to put a little bit of this in there, and the grenadine, and blah, 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 and the vermouth. It's got to be whatever the way that it was that she wanted. And she was used to getting it her way. I said, okay, very good. And then she said, oh, and on my dinner, I want the side of asparagus, and the asparagus has to be steamed. Not the way you guys typically do it. It has to be steamed. I said, okay, so you want 2 sides. We might have to charge you a little bit, just be like a little bit extra. And she looks at me, and I mean with lasers, and she says, now look. And she puts her skeletal finger in my face. This thing, she goes, now you look. I know, Philippe, you're not charging me anything. Nothing extra. And then, as if to convey a threat that she's going to go tell on me, she's going to go tell Philippe, right? So she starts getting up, like she's going to go. And, I mean, if she had been a younger, spry person, you know, she would have been up like a flash. Whatever. Instead, she's like,
oh, no.
Like she's getting up like this. And I'm like, I mean, it was frightening, but not for the reasons that she intended. And I learned early on, I remember talking to Philippe, I said, Evelyn something? He goes, yes. She wants the asparagus steamed. She doesn't want it the way that we're normally doing it.
Not charged.
And he goes, okay. And not charged. He goes, okay, Ray, just go back to your table. It's fine. And I learned immediately that the customer was always right. I mean, as far as Philippe was concerned, the customer was always right. And it always made us so angry. But I got to say, in hindsight, I look back now. And when you're running a business, and you've got a bunch of, your team essentially wants to be somewhere else. I mean, no one is trying to work their way up into management. They got big dreams. They want to hit it big, and they're hoping that every shift is their last. I could understand being a little worried about everyone not doing their job the way that you want them to. You know, so I'm more sympathetic to his plight now. But at the time, all I wanted was for him to just go over to one of these customers and say, don't you dare talk to my help like that.
Yeah.
Don't you dare. Instead, it was this very paternal thing where almost like telling you to go to your room.
Yeah.
I can still hear it echoing in my brain. Ray, just go to your table, baby. Just go to your table. Philippe, this woman just threw hot soup on my face. Ray, just go to the table. I gotta go to the hospital. Just go, baby, go. Just please drop the check. And I went through that. I mean, we all went through that for years.
Did he ever defend you? Did you ever?
There was one time, I'll never forget this. It was a woman, an elderly woman and an elderly man. And again, the demographic in this restaurant was older. I mean, I would say the average age in that restaurant was probably 65. And they accused me of stealing their credit card. They said that I left to run his card and I never brought it back. Now, I knew I brought it back. I knew I did. And I figured, well, he's having a senile moment. He forgot that he just put it back in his wallet, right? So he asked me 3 times, please go check again. I know you have it. I'm pulling my pockets out. I'm doing the checkbook. It's not in here. We got a flashlight. I mean, there was a lot of theater involved. We're like, look, we're shining the flashlight all over every corner of this restaurant. We don't have it, sir. So finally, asking me to go check once again, I said, sir, perhaps you put it in your wallet? And his wife looked at me and she says, how dare you? Right?
Again with the how dare you.
How dare you? I said, I'm not trying, I'm just saying, I'm positive I gave it back to you. He had a to-go box, a styrofoam to-go box with a chicken balsamic that we used to make. And the balsamic sauce was this creamy, rich, brown sauce. And we had it all over we boxed it up on top of the chicken. He stands up and he goes, you son of a, and he punches it. And this brown sauce splatters all over my white shirt, all over the table next to him, all over himself.
Holy cow.
And I couldn't help myself. I said, that's mature, sir. Very mature. And his wife, now, she gets up.
Oh, no. God.
So I walked over to Philippe and I said, because I basically, if just walking briskly, I knew I could beat them over to him. You know, I mean, they're going to be lagging behind for a while. I said, Philippe, they said that I stole the credit card. I'm just filling you in real quick. And he's like, what? Listen, I didn't. I promise you, he's got it. I promise. Okay. So just make them happy. Make them happy, please, baby. I said, no, they're coming over here.
Did he call you baby?
Yeah, it's a baby a lot. Like, come on, baby. We're all his babies, literally.
I didn't know that.
So I'm like, they think I stole it. I didn't. I promise you, you know. he's like, oh, okay, come on. So they come over, and he's being very, very cooperative, and I'm so sorry. Like, he took it. We know he did. We know. Yes. Well, he's new. I'm sorry. So they get so worked up. Finally, at the end, before they leave, their parting words to him was, "You French bleep," and then they left. Right.
Oh.
Philippe turns to me and goes, "Oh, they're crazy.
Okay.
They're crazy. That's what it took to kind of align him with us. But I'll tell you this: 3 days later, guess who came back in the restaurant with the same credit card?
Not a word, not
an apology, no mea culpa of any kind. They just came in and expected.
Did you serve them?
No, I saw them, but they expected the same service 3 days later after this profanity-laced tirade and this racial epithet that they threw at him. And Philippe was happy to have him back.
And my memories of you and that boss were always love, hate, or love.
I love him.
Respect, hate. I don't know.
I love him a lot more now. Like I said, I think now I understand the anxiety of trying to manage all these people who, typically in restaurants you have bartenders who were stealing, and there were bartenders there that stole. Mm-hmm. Waiters are putting stuff in their pockets.
Yeah.
There's so many moving parts that I sympathize with him now. I get it.
I think because I often wondered why the lesbian bar kept me. They never had to talk to me about flirting with the girls. Like, I think some guys probably think, oh well, these girls. I think my image of lesbians was like, oh well, they're doing this because deep down they'd be with a guy if they were in the mood. Yeah, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
And that's not how they were. And they never had to talk to me about flirting and trying to pick up. I never once tried to pick up a customer or flirt with a customer. And they also never had to talk to me about stealing. I never took $1, never a quarter. And I think that's why they kept me. Because I lasted there a couple of years and I left because I left. But your management, I learned kind of different lessons from management because ours was always about just trying to drive more traffic into our place. I think your place was a lot busier. And we kind of had a couple good nights, and then the rest of the time we were just trying to drive traffic in. And what can we do? And there were many nights where I was there without any customers,
right.
Which was not your experience. You seemed always busy.
Our restaurant was voted by Zagat's as the number one most popular restaurant in Los Angeles. When I first started there,
which is crazy when you think of how many restaurants are in LA.
Absolutely.
That's crazy.
It is so saturated with dining choices.
And you don't have to pay a fortune to eat there, because I remember
that was his thing.
There were $10 entrees and stuff.
That was his thing. Because he had $1 soup and $1 salad, that was kind of like his novel idea. And the demographic that typically came to that restaurant, they seized on that opportunity. And their minds are like, I'll pay whatever for the entree because we're getting a soup or a salad for $1. And the salad was like lettuce out of a bag with like some carrot slices and some silly dressing.
But so many parts of LA, it's that psychology of you're going to pay more because you're going to think you're getting something more.
Right.
But not your place.
Right.
How that worked, I don't understand.
Right.
Like every other place was overinflated.
Right.
But not yours.
It's as though he met with like a psychologist at some point before he was trying to formulating his business plan. It's as though he met with someone who said, you know what, here's how you get into the minds of the diners. Here's how you do it. Because it was brilliant. It worked and it never stopped. I mean, till the day I left, that was a turnstile in the front of that restaurant that was always moving.
That's cool. Hey, how are we on time today?
I think we gotta go to movie quotes.
I'm really excited about this.
Movie quotes.
I worked hard.
Yeah.
To find some good quotes.
Okay, are we gonna change anything this time? Are we?
Let's just be. You got to say the movie. Do you have to say the actor and the movie? Is this a movie?
Let's just see what happens.
Okay.
Let's see what happens.
I'm excited.
I am too.
I rated
Who won last time? You won.
You won. It's hard to say.
You won, yeah. Because you picked a couple of really obscure movies that I never heard of and it was BS.
Yeah. Whoever saw Alien. It's like...
All right. Here we go.
Dick, excuse me, Rich, will milk be made available to us?
The Breakfast Club.
Okay, very good.
That's Mr. Bender.
Very good. Who passed away? He's no longer with us. Not Mr. Bender.
Judd Nelson.
The
principal.
The principal.
Yeah.
All right, 1-0. You got to lead again.
Okay, here you go.
This better not be obscure.
I want you to be nice. Ask him to walk, but be nice. If he won't walk, walk him, but be nice. If you can't walk him, one of the others will help you, and you'll both be nice. I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
That's from one of my all-time favorite movies. What I consider to be the best B movie of all time, Roadhouse, and The Great Patrick Swayze. I love that movie.
He's incredible in everything.
You want to go watch it? I want to go watch it right
Hey! The Outsiders was on TV the other day, and I was just watching going, wow, he's great.
Yeah.
He's just natural and great. Sorry, so 1-to-1.
Nip tuck.
I killed them. I killed them all. They're dead, every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women and the children, too. They're like animals. I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
She could give Hayden Christensen a run for his money.
I knew she'd nail it.
That's Attack of the Clones.
Yep.
That's episode 2.
My least favorite line from, I think, all 3 of the prequels.
Oh, he should have kept that to himself. That should have been his dark secret that only the audience knew.
Right. That should have been an internal thing that he was struggling with.
He should have lied and said, nothing happened. It was no big deal. And we should have seen him...
in his eyes.
Yeah,
right,
and we should have seen him crushing everybody and him lying about it. That would have been more insidious.
Yeah. Too many details.
George Lucas. I could have helped him so much on that.
You could have.
All right, you're going to like this. 2-2.
There's no way on earth we're going to get out of here tonight. We'd have more luck playing pickup sticks with our butt cheeks than we'll be getting a flight out of here before daybreak.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Sure.
The great John Candy.
Yes.
It's so sad that all our quotes are, all our beloved movies and actors they're deceased.
Yeah, I'm seeing a trend here.
Yeah. I mean, it's not on purpose.
Hayden Christensen, his career is deceased. That's different.
That's true. That's true. We should call this segment the eulogies from now on.
Mission accomplished.
Oh, right.
You know there are more men out there. You know where they are. Find them, or I'll find you.
You got her to whisper.
I told her, I put whisper this line.
I was afraid of doing something like that because I thought she'd go, whisper, I'll find you. Rambo, Part 2, Sly Stallone.
Oh, she did that perfectly.
That was great.
Oh.
I think that's it.
Jackie, good job.
I think that's 3-3. I think.
Okay. Well, good. I like the tie.
Okay.
I like the tie.
Yeah, you would. Oh.
I'm going to get you next time, though. I'm going to get you next time, even the score. So after you left the bar, then you went on to do some things that were actually industry related.
Well, I was at the bar, and I came to LA to be a musician, rock star, or storyteller of some kind. I thought writing, screenwriting, something like that. And I met this, because every girl in the bar was not interested in me, and that's fine, fair enough. And because that also changed the way I looked at every girl everywhere, I've thought the only way I'm ever going to be sure is to go online. And I went to either Match.com or Yahoo Personals or something, and I found this girl, first girl that we went on a date, and she happened to be in the industry. I remember at the time she was working on Vanilla Sky as the set decorator, and she just finished American Pie 2, and so our second date was to go to the American Pie 2 wrap party. And I thought, holy cow, I found the coolest girl in the world, right? And she said, listen, I know it's not what you want to do with your life, but it's in the industry. It could get you out of the bar. My best friend from grade school got a job as a story editor on a reality show, a budding reality show that hasn't aired yet that they're shooting, and I could get you an interview at her show. And after that, I promise you nothing, but it's better than bartending. At least it's in the industry, and who knows from there what could go. And I said, yeah, that'd be great. So I get the interview, and the job was to sit there and watch the raw footage of the reality film and to type the screenplay of what you see. So you'd be typing like 2-shot. He looks at her with jealous eyes. She says, "I hate you." You had to like dialogue it and everything. And so I did that, and then we broke up, the girl and I. And I thought, oh my God, now I've quit the bar, and I'm here, and now she's not going to help me anymore because we're broken up. What am I going to do?
Which one was this? Can you do a rhyme or name? Which one was this? Do I remember this?
I mean, her name rhymes with Timberly. Sorry. Anyway, we broke up, and I thought, oh my God, what's going to happen to me now? And what ended up happening was 9/11 happened, and all of these people at the show quit. And I was about to get let go. And in fact, they told me, you're gone as of this date, because I typed everything. All the footage was logged. And then the network, ABC, bought a couple more episodes, and 9/11 happened, and they were like, oh, we're going to Puerto Rico. We already booked Puerto Rico. We're going to shoot for like 2 months, living at a premium resort in San Juan. I'd never left continental United States. And I remember the executive producer just came out, and she looked around at this empty room because everyone quit after 9/11. People went home. After 9/11, people thought L.A. were, I don't know if you remember, a lot of people thought it was the next shoe to drop. Like, now they're going to hit L.A. Yeah. So I remember people were going home to Seattle and wherever they were from.
I remember you called me the morning of 9/11, and I was at...
That's like a whole other episode.
Yeah, I was at my... at the time, my girlfriend's at the time, and she just moved into an apartment, so she had no television. Oh. And this was before we all checked our phones every 10 minutes. So we were disconnected from the rest of the world. And when I finally checked my messages, you had called. I didn't know what was going on yet. My first inclination as to what was happening on the other side of the country was you. Wow. And it sounded like the trailer for Red Dawn. You're like, we're under attack! We're under attack! No. And I was like, what is Warren going on about? And then we hooked in to the grid and realized what was happening.
Well, because in LA we were 3 hours behind everybody,
right? So
it was over. We were still sleeping.
Right.
At 9 a.m. It's 6 a.m. Right. So we got our call from.
And I was an out of work actor, so I had slept till 1.
Right. So we got our phone call in our apartment from a kid in Germany who found out because it was later in the afternoon for them. But I remember the executive producer walked out. She looked at our half-empty room for people who had quit, and she goes, "You dude," she didn't even know my name yet. She goes, why don't you pick up your stuff and go sit over? You want to work for me? And I was like, yeah. She goes, all right, pick everything up, and now that's your desk. And it was right outside the big desk. And I was just thrilled. And she's like, booked your flight. You're going to Puerto Rico. And I remember we flew out on some of the earliest flights after airspace reopened. Yeah. We flew out in early October. And it was spooky. Nobody was in LAX. And when we took our flight, American Air or whatever, we were the only people on the plane. It was our little crew of 15 people. On a huge 300-seat plane, we were the only people. We were all laying crossways in our seats. Yeah. And it was eerily quiet. You could hear every little nook and cranny happening on the plane because there's just nobody coughing and flipping papers and rustling their feet. And that just led to a string of jobs working at ABC and in TV through. But I feel bad because I feel like we don't have time to get into that stuff.
Well, I was just going to say, we touched on this a little bit last time about missing family and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but I remember at the time, this was a New York thing. This was something that was happening back fairly close to where our family was, and it was one of those things where I felt we were all so sad about this and just so despondent. We're all just kind of in a funk for weeks, and it felt like while LA is a major city, so every major city in the country I think was kind of on high alert. Mm-hmm. I felt like I wanted to be closer to my family back in New York because it happened in New York. That was ground zero. So that was one of the things that I think contributed to the other feelings of wanting to be closer to family for all the other reasons.
I remember when that happened, I started getting some phone calls from ex-girlfriends just to check in.
Yeah.
And my best good friend, he was the guy who hired me on that first show. I love this guy. He's a clinical psychologist, and that was his job. He was a doctor in psychology before he went to LA to be a Hollywood producer. And I said, Donnie, man, why am I getting calls from ex-girlfriends? He said, that's totally common. They're checking in because everyone's been taking a stock in their life. They've been going through the Rolodex, and they've been wondering if they wronged anybody. They want to make sure that they're okay now, and they want to kind of get forgiveness, closure. He's like, you're gonna see a lot of that.
It's funny in the wake of a crisis. I think it's just human nature, but we all sort of realize, you know what? And it's too bad that it requires that crisis. It's too bad that we have to be kind of jostled out of our comfort zone to remember how much we love our grandparents. And, it's always in those moments that I want to call my grandmother and remind her that I love her. And it's like I guess we just don't stop and smell the roses enough day in and day out.
That freaked me out. I remember. Well, I just got in there. I got in there in summer of '99. So fall of 2001, I was like, I can't quit now. But I was feeling those things you're talking about. Right. I remember after I showed up to work that 9/11. I didn't know if it's like, is this like a snow day? Like, what do we do? There's no rule book for this. And I showed up, and there was only one guy there, the line producer, and he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I go, I don't know. Are we supposed to not be here? He goes, have you been watching TV? Go home. And I was like, oh, okay. And I had to get gas, so I stopped at the gas station. There were these huge lines of cars queuing up for gas. And I was like, what's going on? And the guy goes, didn't you hear? Like, they're gonna ration the gas, man. Like, everyone's filling up. They're gonna ration the ess. And I was like, holy cow, I never even thought it. Like, there's going to be looting and there's going to be, price gouging.
The LA riots, you got that in the back of your mind.
He's like, there's going to be price gouging and all this. And I thought, holy cow, I'm so glad I stopped here and waited for gas. Maybe this is the last tank of gas I'm going to see for a while. And then just went home like everybody and watched TV for 2 weeks or whatever. But,
and then eventually we got back to the bump and the grind. And I always envied you. When you went to work at ABC and you're working for Disney, and I remember I came over and visited you that one day, and you had an office and you had a desk, and there were times where I was in the restaurant and I put that apron on so many times. It's like the apron had become like an appendage, you know. And when I finally finished, I wanted to burn that thing in effigy. Yeah. And there were times where there'd be office parties that would come in. They'd come in from NBC, or the studios are right across the street, so we get these big office parties. And I remember more than once I'd ask for a card. And I'd say to myself, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'd rather go temp somewhere where at least I have a shirt and a tie on. I at least want to convey that I'm a professional, some kind of professionalism, and not this monkey suit that I'm always wearing. But the problem is my friends that went off and did that, and you were kind of the exception because you wanted to write. But my friends who were actors who finally had enough with the restaurants, when they'd go to a 9-to-5 job, they never had the time. They never had the liberty to go to auditions, and they never did anything creatively because they had no time in the 9 to 5. I mean, that's when you're not going to get an audition call for 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night. It's going to be during the day. And if you're fetching coffee or you're at a computer, you can't just up and go.
Which is actually the topic of our next podcast. We're going to talk about what it's actually like to get out there and get creative and play.
That's right. That's coming up next.
Yeah.
And I think we're out of time. So I want to reiterate that you and 6 others.
Me and 6 others, man.
You and 6 others. I wouldn't want anyone else sitting across from me.
They got to fly out here. That's the only problem with 6 others. They got to get some airfare, and that's pretty hard.
Yeah, it is.
So
it is.
But I can't wait to watch episodes of these other folks that I've heard a lot about.
Yeah. So. We're gonna start doing some Skyping. We're gonna.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're gonna try to make this as well rounded as we can.
That's great.
With myriad personalities and different angles and opinions.
Good use of myriad.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, some people say a myriad. That's wrong.
Really?
Yeah, myriad is an adjective.
It is.
You don't need a myriad. You don't say a very. Well, you say a very. You don't say.
Anyway, thanks very much for tuning in again. Really appreciate it. This has been episode 2, and we hope there will be myriad more. You take care. We'll see you again soon.
Yeah, I just like.
I love it.
Hopefully, it got great.